Hello, everyone. I want to talk to you today about something that separates the average from the extraordinary, something so simple, yet so powerful. It's the difference between chasing life and controlling life. And that, my friends, is your morning ritual. Yes, the morning. The first hour of your day is where champions are made. It's where your mindset is set, your energy is fueled, and your purpose is sharpened. I call it fuel your day intentionally. You see, most people wake up to an alarm, they hit snooze, they scroll through their phone, and they stumble into their day like zombies. But champions wake with purpose. They don't wait for life to tell them what to do. They wake up with a mission. They wake up with a goal. They wake up and say, I'm going to dominate today because my future depends on it. The first thing a champion does is wake with purpose, not the alarm. It's not just a signal to get out of bed. It's a reminder of your mission. When you open your eyes, I want you to ask yourself, why am I alive today? What am I going to accomplish that matters? Your answer is your fuel. Your answer is your fire. And I promise you this, if you don't control the first hour, the day will control you. Now, once you're awake, you need to move your body. I'm not talking about running a marathon. I'm talking about activating your body to activate your mind. Push up, jumping jacks, stretching, even a quick jog. Get your blood flowing. Your body is the engine. Your mind is the driver. If the engine is cold, the driver can't perform. Champions move intentionally because momentum begins with motion. But movement alone isn't enough. You need to feed your mind as well as your body. That's why affirmations are critical. What you say to yourself in the morning sets the tone for your entire day. Say it loud. I'm disciplined. I'm capable. I will conquer today. Speak victory before it happens. The words you use become the blueprint for the life you live. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Your self-talk is your destiny in disguise. And don't forget about what you put into your body. Champions fuel strategically. Breakfast isn't just food. It's energy. It's power. It's strategy. High protein, balanced meals, hydration, and paired with mind fuel. Read, journal, or listen to something uplifting. Feed your greatness. Don't starve it with laziness. Now here's where most people fail. They don't plan their day intentionally, they drift, they react. Champions don't react. They design. Before the first email, before the first meeting, they write down their top 3 priorities. They schedule their hours, block out distractions, and attack with precision. Morning planning prevents decision fatigue, keeps your energy focused, and ensures that your day isn't stolen by chaos. Another key to a champion's morning is gratitude. You gotta start by recognizing what you already have. Even if it's just one thing, acknowledge it. Gratitude shifts your mind from scarcity to abundance, from complaint to power. It fuels optimism, focus, and resilience. When you start with thanks, you start with power. Now here's the deal. The morning is non-negotiable. No excuses, no snooze button, no scrolling social media. No negotiating with laziness. The morning is where you claim your life. And if you can't dominate the morning, you'll be chasing the day all afternoon. Champions don't make excuses. They make progress. And finally, it's about taking action before the world waits. That's the secret sauce. While everyone else sleeps, you're building your empire. The morning ritual is only as powerful as your execution. Attack your most important task first. Build momentum, gain confidence, and take control. Early action separates the dreamers from the doers. Listen to me, I'm telling you the truth. Your future is birthed in your morning. Every victory, every accomplishment, every success story begins with intentional action before the sun rises. The question is, are you going to wake up and fuel your day intentionally, or are you going to let life happen to you? I challenge you today, own your mornings, own your life. Own your destiny. Wake with purpose, move with energy, speak your affirmations, fuel your body and mind, plan your day, practice gratitude, no excuses, and take action. Do this consistently, and I promise you, success won't be chasing you. It will be waiting for you. Champions are not born. They are made in the first hour of their day. The morning ritual is your battlefield, and your victory starts now. Fuel your day intentionally and watch your life transform beyond your wildest dreams. Rise, move, speak, feed, plan, give thanks, execute, conquer. That's how champions start their day. That's how champions win their lives. That's how you become unstoppable. Most people wake up and hit the snooze button without even thinking. They hear that alarm and immediately reach for their phone, scrolling, checking messages, seeing what the world has done while they were asleep. And by the time they finally get out of bed, half their energy is gone, their focus is scattered, and their purpose has been postponed. Well, let me tell you something. Champions don't wake up that way. Champions wake up with a fire in their soul, with clarity in their mind, and with a mission in their heart, and wake up with purpose. They don't just respond to the alarm. They respond to the life they are building, to the destiny they are chasing. The first thing I want you to understand is this. Waking up is not just a physical act. It is a declaration. When you wake up intentionally, you are telling yourself, I will not let life control me. I will control my life. I will own my day before it even begins. Now think about the simple act of waking up. The alarm goes off and you have a choice. You can hit snooze, roll over, and start your day in a state of lethargy, or you can rise immediately, acknowledge the opportunity before you, and step into your potential. That choice is where champions are made. That choice separates the average from the extraordinary extraordinaries. You see, the alarm is not just a sound. It is a signal, a wake-up call, not just for your body, but for your purpose. It's a reminder that life isn't waiting for you to feel ready. Life doesn't pause. Life doesn't negotiate. It keeps moving. And if you don't get up with intention, if you don't wake with purpose, life will pass you by while you sleep through it. Let me break this down for you. Every day you wake up is an opportunity. Every sunrise is a chance to take control, to make a decision, and to execute. When you wake up with purpose, you are not simply starting a day, you are starting a movement, a momentum that will carry you forward into victory. Champions understand that their morning sets the tone for the rest of the day. If you wake up scattered, if you wake up distracted, if you wake up thinking about everything you didn't do yesterday or worrying about what might go wrong today, you are giving up your power before you even step into the ring. But if you wake up with clarity, if you wake up with vision, if you wake up with the understanding that your first hour is the foundation for the next 23, then you are positioning yourself for unstoppable success. How do you wake with purpose? It begins with mindset. Before you even swing your legs over the side of the bed, you must understand why you are waking up. Not just because the alarm says so, not just because society expects you to, not just because bills are due or responsibilities call, but because you have a mission, you have a vision. You have something inside of you that demands action. Champions wake up knowing that there's a reason for their existence that transcends convenience, comfort, and complacency. They wake up knowing that they are here to achieve, to impact, and to leave a mark. And that knowledge fuels them. That knowledge gives them energy before coffee. That knowledge drives them before motivation shows up. You see, motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. It can be influenced by mood, by circumstance, by weather. But purpose, that is constant. Purpose is unshakable. Purpose is the fuel that gets you out of bed when you feel like giving up. Purpose is a fire that ignites your soul while the world is still sleeping. I want to tell you a story. Many years ago when I was struggling, when life seemed heavy and the odds were stacked against me, I learned a powerful truth. The moment I chose to wake up with purpose, my life began to change. I didn't have money. I didn't have fame. I didn't have recognition. But I had a choice. And in that choice, I realized that I could either hit snooze and let another day pass me by, or I could rise and chase my destiny. I chose to rise. Every day I woke with intention. I reminded myself why I was here. And I told myself that my time mattered. That simple shift transformed me from someone who was reactive to someone who was proactive. It transformed me from someone who was waiting for life to give them a break, to someone who created their own opportunities. And that, my friends, is what happens when you wake with purpose. But let's get practical. Waking with purpose doesn't just happen because you say it's going to. It happens because you create a ritual, a practice that trains your mind and body to respond with discipline. Champions don't wait for feelings to catch up. They act first. They wake and they align their mind with their mission before they do anything else. You can start with something as simple as a question you ask yourself every morning. What must I accomplish today to move closer to my goals? I do today that will make me proud tomorrow. Ask yourself these questions while you are still lying in bed. Let them resonate in your mind. Let them stir something in your heart, and then act. Get up, move, begin. The champions I know don't negotiate with their morning. They don't argue with opportunity. They seize it. There's another critical aspect to waking with purpose, and that is visualization. Before you even take a shower, before you even put on your clothes, take a moment to see yourself conquering the day. See yourself finishing that project. See yourself winning that competition. See yourself having the difficult conversations with courage and integrity. Visualize the outcomes you desire and allow that vision to motivate you into action. Champions do not wake up and let life just happen to them. They wake up and see life the way it could be, the way it should be, and they take steps to make it real. Now, some of you might be thinking, but I don't feel like it. Now I'm tired. I stayed up too late. I don't have energy. Let me tell you something. Waking with purpose is not about feeling like it. It's about choosing it. It's about deciding that your future, your dreams, your goals, your family, your legacy are more important than temporary comfort. Champions wake up when they don't feel like it. Champions rise when they are exhausted. Champions step into the morning with discipline, not because they are motivated, but because they understand the stakes. Life isn't a rehearsal. Life doesn't pause until you feel ready. The alarm goes off. The world keeps moving and you have to choose. Are you going to rise and take control, or are you going to roll over and let the day slip through your fingers? Here's another truth. Waking with purpose is contagious. When you start your day intentionally, your energy spills over into everything else. It affects your work. It affects your relationships. It affects your mindset. People notice it. Opportunities notice it. Life notices it. You cannot underestimate the power of a morning where you decide to show up fully, awake, alert, and committed. That choice will ripple through your day in ways you cannot even imagine. And the more you practice it, the more it becomes second nature. The morning becomes your sanctuary of power, your fortress of focus, your launching pad for excellence. Let's talk about accountability. Waking with purpose is not just a mental game. It's a commitment. Champions hold themselves accountable. They do not allow excuses to dictate their morning. They set alarm. They set intentions. They create a morning environment that supports their mission. Some wake up early to exercise. Some wake up early to read or journal. Some wake up early to pray or meditate. It doesn't matter the activity. What matters is that it aligns with your purpose and fuels your vision. The specific ritual is not as important as the intentionality behind. Now, I want you to imagine the alternative. Imagine rolling over every morning, hitting snooze, letting your day begin without direction. Imagine showing up late to your own life. Imagine letting the world dictate your energy, your mindset, your results. That is a recipe for mediocrity. That is how people drift through life, wondering why success is elusive, why opportunities pass them by, why their dreams remain just dreams. Champions refuse to drift. Champions refuse to be reactive. Champions take control. They wake with purpose. They wake with urgency. They wake knowing that every day is a chance to move closer to the life they desire. Let me give you a framework. When you wake up, the first thing you should do is acknowledge your purpose. Speak it aloud. Remind yourself why you're here. Visualize your day. See yourself accomplishing the most important tasks, overcoming obstacles, and taking decisive action. Next, move your body to signal to your brain and your body that you are alive and ready. Even a few minutes of movement will boost your energy and sharpen your focus. After that, fuel your mind and body. Drink water, eat a nutritious breakfast, read, journal, or meditate. Then plan your day intentionally, prioritizing your most critical tasks and allocating your energy wisely. That is how champions wake up. That is how they conquer. That is how they take control of their lives before the world even opens its eyes. Listen, it's not about the alarm. The alarm is meaningless if you are not conscious of your purpose. What matters is why you wake up. What matters is what you choose to do in the first moments of your day. And the truth is this: the first hour of your day determines everything. It determines your energy, your focus, your attitude, your resilience. It determines whether you will win or lose. Champions understand this. They don't negotiate with the morning. They don't wait for motivation. They act, they rise. They rise. They own it. So I challenge you, starting tomorrow, wake up differently. Wake up intentionally. Wake up with purpose. Don't reach for your phone first. Don't hit snooze. Don't let comfort or excuses dictate your day. Raise any been a week. Wake up and remind yourself why you're here, what you're chasing, and what you are willing to do to get it. Stand up, move, visualize, fuel, and plan. Let your morning be a declaration that you are not a spectator in life. You are a champion, a warrior, a creator of your own destiny. Because here's the bottom line. Every great achievement, every monumental success, every story of triumph began in the morning before the world even knew it was happening. The first hour is sacred. It is powerful. It is yours to seize. Champions understand this. Mediocrity does not. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Will you snooze and drift, or will you rise and dominate? Will you hit the alarm and roll over? Or will you wake with purpose, intentionally and relentlessly? Your life, your destiny, your dreams, they are waiting for you. And they will not wait forever. The moment you decide to wake with purpose, to show up fully, to fuel your day intentionally, everything changes. Your mindset changes. Your energy changes. Your results change. You become unstoppable. You become a force of nature. You become the champion you were born to be. So rise up. Take control. Wake with purpose, not the alarm. Because your mornings define your life. Your choices define your destiny. And your actions starting now will determine whether you live as an average person or a champion in every sense of the word. Listen to me, champions, because this is where most people fail without even realizing it. They wake up, they roll out of bed, they brush their teeth, they check their phone, and they sit down for breakfast. Or worse, they sit down at their desk or on their couch. And they wonder why by mid-morning they feel sluggish, distracted, unfocused, and unproductive. Let me tell you something. Your body is your engine. Your mind is the driver. If the engine is cold, the driver cannot perform. If your body is dormant, your mind will be sluggish. And if you want to dominate your day, you have to understand one fundamental truth. Movement is momentum. That means if you want your energy high, your focus sharp, your clarity precise, and your confidence unwavering, you must get your body moving before the world gets moving around you. Movement is not just about physical fitness. Some people think, I don't need to exercise. I just need coffee. I just need to sit down and focus. And there's a lie. It's a trap. Champions understand that movement is mental, emotional, and spiritual as well as physical. When you engage your body, you ignite your mind. You wake up neurons, you release endorphins. You signal to every cell in your body, I am alive, I am ready, I am capable. That is why movement is momentum. It is the first act of intentionality in your morning. It tells the world and yourself that you are not coming to life by accident. You are coming to life on purpose. Let me break this down for you. Even if it's 10 minutes, even if it's 15 minutes, even if it's just a series of stretches, push-ups, jumping jacks, or running in place, that motion begins a chain reaction. Your heart rate increases. Your blood pumps oxygen to your brain. Your metabolism wakes up. Your mind starts firing on all cylinders. Your body says, I am ready to take action. And here's the truth. You cannot be mentally sharp if your body is physically dormant. You cannot be decisive if your blood isn't flowing. You cannot be inspired if you are lethargic. Movement wakes up more than muscles. It wakes up your potential. It wakes up your courage. It wakes up your confidence. I want you to understand this. Champions do not wait until they feel like it. Champions do not wait until they have energy. Champions create energy. And they create energy through movement first, thinking second, action third. That's the order. Too many people reverse it. They sit, they think, they procrastinate, they wait. And they wonder why their day is mediocre. Champions move. And in movement, momentum is born. Momentum carries you forward. Momentum energizes your mindset. Momentum makes the impossible possible. Now let's talk about intention. I don't just want you to move for the sake of moving. I want you to move with purpose. Every stretch, every push-up, every sprint and push-up, every sprint in place should be a statement to yourself. I'm alive. I am capable. I am unstoppable. Champions move with intention because their bodies are not separate from their goals. They are instruments for achievement. Movement is a signal to your brain that you are ready to dominate, ready to think strategically, ready to act decisively. And here's the kicker. When you start moving early, before anyone else in the world is awake, you set a pace that others cannot match. You are ahead before the race even starts. Let me share something with you that changed my life. Early in my journey, I realized that mornings were where most people gave up their power. They slept while I was moving. They snoozed while I was stretching. They hesitated while I was sprinting. And that movement, those intentional actions became the difference between mediocrity and greatness. It wasn't the hours of sleep or the hours of rest that made me successful. It was how I used my morning to prime my body and mind for victory. I moved with purpose. I exercised with intent. I elevated my energy, and my momentum carried me through challenges that others crumbled under. You see, movement is also a mental cue. It says to your subconscious, I am in control. I'm prepared. I'm unstoppable. When you sit and sip coffee while scrolling through social media, your subconscious hears a different message. I am passive. I'm reactive. I'm waiting for life to happen to me. Movement is a declaration of dominance over your day, your choice, and ultimately your life. It tells the world I'm awake, I will not be denied, and I will not be denied. Let's get practical. What kind of movement am I talking about? It doesn't have to be extreme. You don't have to lift a 100-pound barbell or run a marathon before breakfast. 10 push-ups, 10 squats, a series of stretches, a 5-minute jog around the block. Whatever it is, it needs to activate your body and your mind. Champions understand that movement is not punishment, it is preparation. It is the fuel that sets your day on fire. And here's the truth. The more consistent you are with this, the easier it becomes. The more you move, the more energy you create. The more momentum you build, the less resistance you feel. The more your body is awake, the more your mind is awake. I also want to point out something crucial. Movement builds confidence. When you engage your body intentionally, you start your day with a win. You start your day accomplishing something tangible. And when you accomplish something tangible first thing in the morning, you carry that confidence forward. Decisions become easier. Obstacles become smaller. Challenges become opportunities. Momentum builds upon momentum. And before you know it, your day is no longer a struggle. It is a series of victories, starting with the simple act of moving your body. But it's not just physical and mental, it's emotional. Movement releases tension, it releases stress, it releases doubt. Champions understand that early morning movement clears the mind and strengthens the spirit. When you move, you are shaking off yesterday's fears, yesterday's regrets, yesterday's disappointments. You are signaling to yourself that today is new. Today is yours, and today will be dominated by your choices and action. Movement becomes the bridge between who you were yesterday and who you will become today. Some of you are thinking, oh, but I'm tired. I stayed up too late. I'm sore. I don't feel like it. Let me tell you something. Movement creates energy. It doesn't require it. You don't wait until you feel motivated to move. You move first, and the motivation follows. Champions don't wait for conditions to be perfect. They don't wait for inspiration to strike. They take action, and action generates momentum. And once you feel that energy flowing, your mind becomes clear, your focus becomes sharp, and your attitude becomes unstoppable. I want to remind you of something that most people overlook. Your body is connected to your mind in ways you cannot ignore. If your body is idle, your mind becomes idle. If your body is energized, your mind becomes alert. If your body is moving with purpose, your mind begins to think with purpose. Movement is more than exercise. It is a statement, a ritual, and a strategy. It is how champions prime themselves to dominate before the rest of the world even opens their eyes. Let me tell you a secret about the greatest people in the world. They understand this principle implicitly. Athletes, entrepreneurs, leaders, and innovators, they wake up early and they move first. They understand that momentum is everything. It is what separates winners from dreamers. It is what allows them to seize opportunities while others are still asleep. It is what gives them the edge that no one else sees. And it is often the one thing that consistently keeps them ahead of the competition. Movement is the engine of that edge. And let me be clear, this is not about vanity. It's not about looking good in the mirror. It's about performance, power, and preparation. When you move your body in the morning, you are activating your potential. You are telling yourself, I am ready for challenges. I am ready for growth. I am ready for greatness. Every squat, every push-up, every stretch is a declaration that you will not settle for mediocrity. It is a reminder that your body and mind are connected, and that connection is your superpower. I also want to emphasize the importance of consistency. Movement is a habit. Momentum is built over time. You don't become unstoppable in one morning. You become unstoppable because of repeated mornings filled with intention and movement. Champions are not extraordinary because they occasionally move. They are extraordinary because they consistently prime their bodies and minds to dominate every day. They understand that small, consistent actions compound into massive results. 10 minutes of intentional movement every morning may seem insignificant, but over weeks, months, and years, it becomes the foundation of their power, resilience, and excellence. And here's another point. Movement sets the tone for discipline. When you commit to moving your body first thing in the morning, you are training yourself to follow through. You are training yourself to honor commitments, even when you don't feel like it. That discipline carries over into every aspect of your life. Your work, your relationships, your goals, and your dream. Momentum doesn't stop at your morning exercise. It flows into every decision, every action, every step you take throughout the day. Now I want to challenge you to think bigger. What if every morning you woke up and committed to movement with the same intensity that champions do? What if every day you primed your body, your mind, and your spirit to dominate before the world even started? What would your life look like in 6 months, 1 year, 5 years? Momentum compounds, energy compounds, confidence compounds, success compounds. And it all starts with movement, the simplest, most powerful act of intentionality you can take in the morning. So here's my message to you. Stop waiting for energy to come to you. Stop waiting for motivation to find you. Whoa. Stop waiting for the perfect condition. Move first. Move intentionally. Move with purpose. Build momentum. Feel it course through your body. Let it ignite your mind. Let it fuel your focus, your discipline, your courage, and your confidence. Let movement become the launching pad for every victory, every accomplishment, every breakthrough in your life. And remember this, momentum is contagious. When you start your day moving with energy, everyone around you feels it. Your colleagues, your family, your friends, your clients, they sense your focus, your intensity, your drive. You set a tone that others cannot ignore. You raise the bar simply by taking action, by priming your body and mind for greatness before the world even begins to stir. Movement is not just physical. It is leadership. It is influence. It's power. Champions understand this. Don't wait to feel ready. They don't wait to be inspired. They move. They build momentum. And that momentum carries them through every challenge, every obstacle, every setback. Momentum is unstoppable. Momentum is what separates those who achieve greatness from those who merely dream about it. Movement is the spark. Momentum is the fire. And the morning is your opportunity to light that fire before anyone else even knows the sun has risen. So I challenge you today, when the alarm goes off tomorrow, don't reach for your phone. Don't hit snooze. Don't linger in bed. Stand up. Move. Stretch. Run in place. Do push-ups. Do squats. Dance if you have to. Do whatever it takes to activate your body, ignite your energy, and start building unstoppable momentum. Feeling your muscles, feeling your heart, feeling your mind. That is how champions start their day. That's how champions win. That is how you take control of your life before the world even begins to stir. And one final thing, momentum is not just for the morning. It sets the tone for the rest of your day, your week, and your life. When you start strong, when you move intentionally, when you fuel your energy and focus, everything else flows. Decisions become easier. Confidence becomes natural. Challenges become opportunities. And success becomes inevitable. But it all starts with movement. One step, one push-up, one stretch, one decision to refuse mediocrity and claim your day with power. Movement is momentum. Momentum is victory. And the morning is your battlefield. Rise. Move, dominate, repeat. That is how champions are made. That is how you win before the world even opens its eyes. That is how you fuel your day intentionally. Listen to me, because this is where most people fail without even realizing it. They wake up, they get out of bed, they brush their teeth, they grab a cup of coffee, and they begin their day reacting to life instead of creating it. They respond to messages, respond to problems, respond to the noise of the world. And by mid-morning, they are exhausted, distracted, unmotivated, and confused. Why? because they have not taken control of the most important conversation they will have all day, the conversation with themselves. I want to talk to you about something that is so simple, yet so powerful, that it can literally transform your life before the sun even rises. That is the power of affirmations. Yes, affirmations. What you say to yourself in the morning, out loud in your mind with conviction, is the blueprint for how your day unfolds. Champions understand this. It's why they speak their victories into existence before the world even knows they are awake. Let me break it down for you. Affirmations are not just motivational quotes you read online or words you say because they sound nice. And affirmations are declarations of who you are, what you are capable of, and what you achieve. They are statements of your identity, your purpose, and your potential. When you wake up in the morning, the very first conversation you have should be with yourself. And that conversation should not be filled with doubt, fear, excuses, or complaints. It should be filled with clarity, power, intention, and determination. Champions wake up and say to themselves, I am capable, I am disciplined, I am unstoppable, I will conquer today. They affirm not only what they want to achieve, but who they are in the process. They affirm their greatness, their resilience, their courage, their ability to overcome any obstacle. Here's the truth. Your mind is a powerful machine. It can either work for you or against you. If you wake up and immediately start thinking about everything that can go wrong, everything you didn't accomplish yesterday, or everything that might be difficult today, your mind is already sabotaging you before you even start. That's why affirmations are critical. They set the tone for your thoughts, your energy, and your action. They give your subconscious a clear directive. I am here to win. I'm here to dominate. I'm here to create my destiny. And once your subconscious believes it, your actions follow. What you repeatedly say to yourself in the morning becomes your reality. Champions under this principle. Mediocrity does not. I want to tell you a story about when I was struggling. There were days when the weight of life felt unbearable. There were moments when I doubted myself, when I questioned my purpose, when I wondered if all my effort was for nothing. And on those days, the one thing that kept me moving forward was speaking affirmations out loud. I would look in the mirror and say, Aaron, you are stronger than this. You are capable more than you know. You will not quit today. You will win. At first, it felt awkward. At first, it felt like I was just talking to myself. But over time, the words became real. They rewired my mind. They gave me clarity. They gave me confidence. They gave me the courage to take action even when everything inside me said to stay down. And that, my friends, is the power of affirmation. They are not just words. They are the foundation of your success, the spark that ignites your momentum, and the fire that fuels your purpose. Now let's talk about the practical side of affirmations. You don't need complicated rituals. You don't need hours of chanting or meditation. What you need is consistency and conviction. The moment you wake up, before you check your phone, before you interact with anyone else, speak to yourself. Say what you want to believe. Say what you want to become, and say it with authority. Say it loud enough that even if no one else hears it. Your words are powerful. They shape your mindset, influence your energy, and guide your actions. Champions do this every single morning. They know that the first conversation of the day is the most important conversation they will have. Let me give you a framework. Start with your identity. Who are you? Not what you do, not your job, not your circumstances, but who are you at your core? Say it out loud. I'm strong. I'm disciplined. I am focused. I am courageous. I am unstoppable. Then move to your purpose. What are you here to accomplish today? Today, I will tackle my most important tasks. Today, I will take action that moves me closer to my goals. Today, I will dominate my challenges and refuse to be stopped. Then affirm your mindset. I will think clearly. I will act decisively. I will stay resilient no matter what obstacles come my way. Finally, affirm your outcomes. I will succeed. I will make progress. I will create results that matter. When you combine these layers, your affirmations become a blueprint for the day, a declaration of your power, and a commitment to excellence. Some of you are thinking, Eric, this sounds too simple. Can words really change anything? Change anything? Let me tell you this. The most powerful people in the world understand the power of words. They speak victory into existence before it happens. They visualize, they declare, and then they execute. Words influence actions. Actions create results. Results shape destiny. If you do not control the words you speak to yourself, someone else, something else, or life itself will control them for you. And the truth is, most people let that happen. They wake up and allow doubt, fear, and excuses to set the tone. Champions refuse to let that happen. They understand that what you say to yourself first thing in the morning is the most important conversation you will have all day. It's the first battle of the day. And if you win that battle, the rest of the day is already yours. Let me also point out something critical. Affirmations are not about pretending or lying to yourself. They are about training your mind to focus on what is possible rather than what is probable. They are about aligning your thoughts with your potential. It is easy to get caught up in self-doubt, fear, and limitation. It is easy to focus on what could go wrong. Affirmations help you shift your focus from limitation to possibility. They remind you of your power, your strength, and your ability to overcome. They give you the courage to act, even when conditions are not perfect. They give you the energy to persevere, even when the odds are against you. Champions understand this principle intuitively. Mediocrity does not. I also want you to understand that affirmations are a practice, not a one-time event. Saying them once will not change your life. Saying them inconsistent will not change your life. Champions repeat affirmations daily. They repeat them consistently. They repeat them with conviction. And over time, those words become beliefs. Those beliefs become habits. Those habits become actions. And those actions over time become the life you live. That is the compounding power of affirmations. Small, consistent, intentional words create massive, long-term results. Let me give you an example from the lives of great people. Athletes, entrepreneurs, leaders, they all use affirmation, even if they call it something different. They visualize, they speak their victories, they declare their intention. Before a game, before a meeting, before a performance, they prepare their minds with words of power. They speak life into their actions. They remind themselves of their strength, their resilience, and their ability to succeed. And when they step into the world, they do so with confidence, clarity, and purpose. This is not magic. This is discipline. This is intention. This is power. And it is available to you every morning if you choose to use it. Here's another truth: affirmations are contagious. When you start your day speaking victory, your energy changes, your mindset changes, your attitude changes, and those changes influence everything around you. Your interactions, your decisions, your productivity, your relationships, they all improve because you began your day with clarity and purpose. Conversely, if you wake up speaking doubt, complaining, or focusing on what is wrong, your entire day will be impacted by that negativity. Words are not just sound, they are signal. They are signal. They influence your brain, your body, and your environment. Champions understand this. They choose their words wisely, knowing that their language shapes their life. Now I want you to imagine the alternative. Imagine waking up and letting the first thoughts in your head be fear, doubt, and worry. Imagine starting your day by telling yourself what you cannot do, what you might fail at, and why it is too hard. Imagine the weight of those negative words following you through every interaction, every decision, every opportunity. That is mediocrity. That's limitation. That is settling for less than your potential. Champions refuse to live that way. They understand that the first words they speak define the trajectory of their day, the week, and ultimately their life. Let me challenge you with a simple exercise. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, do not reach for your phone. Do not check emails. Do not engage with anyone else. Instead, look in the mirror, speak out loud to yourself. Say the words that remind you of your power, your purpose, your potential, and your promise. Say them with conviction. Say them as if your life depends on it. Because it does. The more you repeat these words, the more they become embedded in your mind. The more they become embedded in your mind, the more they influence your actions. The more they influence your actions, the more your results will change. Affirmations are not fluff. They are strategy. They are discipline. They are the foundation for a life of excellence. Some of you may be thinking, I can't do this. I don't believe it. Let me tell you something. Belief follows action. It is not necessary to fully believe it first. It is necessary to act first. Speak the words, repeat the affirmation, show up for yourself. And over time, your belief will catch up. Champions understand that action precedes faith. They understand that discipline precedes confidence. And they understand that words spoken with intention can shape reality. Listen, the world is not going to wait for you to catch up. Opportunity, success, and progress do not pause while you are doubting yourself. You have to speak yourself into action. You have to declare your intention. You have to affirm your greatness. You have to tell yourself who you are and who you are becoming. And when you do that consistently, daily, relentlessly, your mind, your body, and your actions align. You become unstoppable. You become the champion you were born to be. So I challenge you today, take control of your first conversation. Speak victory. Speak power. Speak intention. Speak courage. Speak resilience. Speak clarity. Speak the words that remind you of your strength, your purpose, and your potential. Let those words shape your thoughts. Let those thoughts shape your actions. Let those actions shape your life. Champions understand this principle. Mediocrity does not. The choice is yours. Your life is waiting. Your destiny is calling. Your dreams are within reach. And it all begins with the words you speak to yourself the moment you wake up. Affirm your power. Affirm your purpose. Affirm your potential. And watch as your day, your week, your life transforms because you chose to speak victory before the world even opened its eyes. Rise, speak, believe, act, dominate. That is how champions start their day. That's how champions win. That's how you fuel your day intentionally and create a life of unstoppable greatness. Let me talk to you about something most people overlook, underestimate, and completely disrespect. And that is how they fuel themselves. I'm not just talking about food. I'm talking about what you put into your body, what you put into your mind, and what you allow into your spirit in the first moments of your day. You see, champions understand something that average people don't. You cannot run a high-performance life on low-quality fuel. It doesn't matter how big your dreams are if your energy is weak. It doesn't matter how strong your goals are if your body is drained and your mind is cluttered. Champions fuel intentionally because they understand that what you consume determines how you perform. Most people wake up and immediately poison themselves. They skip water, they grab sugar, they overload caffeine, they fill their minds with negativity, bad news, social media drama, and distractions. Then they wonder why by mid-morning they are tired, unfocused, irritated, and unmotivated. That's not bad luck. That's bad fueling. You cannot treat your body like a garbage can and expect it to perform like a championship machine. You cannot feed your mind trash and expect it to produce greatness. Champions understand that fueling is not optional. It is strategic, deliberate, and disciplined. Let me make this plain. Your body is not just something you lift. It is the vehicle that carries your destiny. And if you don't take care of the vehicle, the journey will be slow, painful, and incomplete. Champions wake up asking themselves one simple question. What do I need today to perform at my highest level? Not what tastes good, not what feels easy, not what is convenient, what fuels excellence, what fuels focus, what fuels discipline. That mindset alone separates winners from drifters. The first fuel champions reach for is water, before coffee, before food, conversation. Water, because dehydration kills energy. Dehydration clouds thinking. Dehydration slows reaction time. Champions know that even mild dehydration can affect focus and decision making. So they hydrate first because clarity comes before comfort. They understand that small habits done consistently create massive advantages over time. Then comes food, but not just eating for pleasure. Eating for performance. Champions eat to win. They understand that food is information. Food tells your body whether to be alert or sluggish, sharp or foggy, energized or exhausted. You don't need perfection, but you need intention. Protein to stabilize energy, nutrients to support the brain. Foods that sustain, not spike and crash. Champions don't eat like victims. They eat like warriors preparing for battle. But here's where most people really fail. Not just physical fuel, but mental fuel. What you feed your mind in the morning is more important than what you eat for breakfast. If the first thing you consume is negativity, fear, comparison, or chaos, your entire day is compromised. Champions guard their minds like a fortress. They don't allow random voices to set their tone. They don't let the internet define their worth. They don't let the news decide their mood. They choose what goes in because they know whatever goes in will eventually come out. Champions read something uplifting, something challenging, something that expands their thinking. It could be a page from a book, a quote, a journal entry, a scripture, or a powerful reminder of their goals. It doesn't have to be long. It just has to be intentional. 5 minutes of focused input can change the trajectory of an entire day. And champions understand that consistency beats intensity. They don't wait for motivation. They build rituals. Let me tell you something personal. There were seasons in my life when I didn't have money, didn't have status, didn't have recognition, but I learned how to fuel myself properly, and that changed everything. I learned that when I fed my body correctly, my energy improved. When I fed my mind correctly, my confidence grew. When I fed my spirit correctly, my resilience became unbreakable. I stopped waking up drained. I stopped walking around confused. I stopped reacting emotionally to every obstacle. Why? Because I was fueling intentionally. You see, champions don't just wake up and hope for a good day. They prepare for a good day. They prime themselves for excellence. They understand that preparation eliminates panic, and fueling is part of preparation. You cannot expect to make great decisions if your blood sugar is crashing. You cannot expect emotional control if your nervous system is overstimulated. You cannot expect focus if your brain is flooded with distractions. Champions respect the science and the discipline of fueling. And let's talk about what you must eliminate. Because fueling is not just about adding, it's about removing. Remove junk input, remove negative conversations early in the day, remove complaining, remove gossip, remove unnecessary noise. Champions protect their mornings because mornings are fragile. One negative thought, one toxic message, one draining interaction can steal momentum if you allow it. That's why champions limit access to themselves early in the day. They don't owe the world their energy before they fuel themselves first. Here's another truth. Fueling is an act of self-respect. When you fuel intentionally, you are saying, my life matters. My goals matter. My future matters. When you neglect fueling, you are unconsciously telling yourself that your dreams are optional. Champions don't treat their destiny casually. They treat it with honor. They understand that how they eat, think, and consume information is directly connected to how they lead, perform, and achieve. Now, let me challenge you. Some of you are trying to build a championship life while running on fumes. You are overworked, undernourished, overstimulated, and mentally exhausted, and then you blame yourself for lacking discipline. It's not always a discipline problem. Sometimes it's a fuel problem. Fix the fuel and discipline becomes easier. Fix the fuel and focus improves. Fix the fuel and motivation shows up naturally. Champions also fuel their emotions intentionally. They don't start the day angry, bitter, or resentful. They release yesterday. They let go of what they cannot control. They understand that emotional baggage is heavy, and heavy people move slowly. So they choose peace. They choose clarity. They choose control. That emotional fueling gives them an edge because they are not wasting energy fighting battles in their mind that don't move them forward. And let's be honest, this isn't about being perfect. Champions are not perfect. They are intentional. Some days the fuel is cleaner than others. Some days the routine is tighter than others, but the commitment remains. They don't quit on themselves because of one bad choice. They course correct. They refocus. They stay disciplined because discipline is not punishment. It is self-care at the highest level. Let me say this clearly. If you want to operate at a championship level, you must fuel like a champion. That means your mornings are sacred. That means your intake is intentional. That means your habits support your goals. That means you stop sabotaging yourself unconsciously and start supporting yourself strategically. Think about this. Your phone needs charging every day. Your car needs fuel. Your mind needs rest. Your body needs nourishment. Yet somehow people expect themselves to perform without proper input. Champions don't think that way. They understand systems. They understand cause and effect. They understand that success is not mysterious. It is methodical. Fueling also builds confidence. When you know you prepared your body and mind properly, you walk into the day differently. Your posture changes. Your voice changes. Your decisions are firmer. Your reactions are calmer. Preparation breeds confidence, and fueling is preparation. Now imagine what your life would look like if you fueled intentionally every morning for the next 90 days. Better energy, clearer thinking, stronger discipline, fewer emotional crashes, more consistency, more progress. That's not hype, that's reality. Small daily choices create massive long-term outcomes. Champions don't wait for life to slow down so they can take care of themselves. They take care of themselves so they can dominate life. They understand that self-care is not selfish, it is strategic, it is leadership, it is responsibility. So I challenge you today, stop eating randomly. Stop thinking randomly. Stop consuming randomly. Fuel with intention. Drink water like your clarity depends on it, because it does. Eat like your performance matters, because it does. Listen and speak things to elevate your mindset, because your future depends on it. Because at the end of the day, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your preparation. And fueling is preparation. It is the unseen discipline that creates visible success. It is the quiet advantage that champions build while others complain about being tired. You want more energy? Fuel better. You want more focus? Fuel better. You want more discipline? Fuel better. You want a better life? Fuel better. Champions don't gamble with their potential. They protect it. They invest in it. They fuel it intentionally, daily, relentlessly. And when you start fueling like a champion, you don't just feel better. You perform better. You think better. You live better. And eventually, you win better. That's how champions start their day. That's how champions separate themselves. That's how champions build unstoppable lives, one intentional choice at a time. Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. Success is not about luck. It's not about talent alone. It's not about motivation. Success is about structure. It's about direction. It's about knowing exactly what you're doing before the day starts instead of letting the day decide for you. Champions don't wake up and drift. They don't just see how the day goes. They don't react to everything demands their attention. Champions plan their attack. They design their day with precision because they understand one brutal truth. If you don't plan your day, someone else will plan it for you, and their priorities will replace yours. Most people lose the day before 9 a.m., not because they didn't work hard, but because they didn't work intentionally. They woke up without a plan, responded to messages, handled small fires, chased distractions, and by the time the day was halfway gone, they were exhausted with nothing meaningful accomplished. Champions refuse to live like that. They understand that time is not just passing, it's being spent, and every hour must be invested wisely. Planning is not paperwork. Planning is power. Planning is clarity. Planning is confidence. When a champion plans the day, they remove uncertainty. They remove hesitation. They remove wasted energy. They know what matters most, and they commit to attacking it first. Not later, not after distraction. First, let me say this clearly. Your willpower is limited, but your plan can carry you when motivation fades. Champions don't rely on how they feel. They rely on what they decide in advance. When the alarm goes off, they don't ask, oh, what do I feel like doing? They already know what must be done. And that certainty gives them an edge over people who wake up guessing. Champions start by identifying their top priorities. Not 10, not 20, 3. The 3 things that, if completed today, would move their life forward in a meaningful way. Everything else is secondary. Everything else is optional, because progress doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from doing the right things consistently. And here's where most people struggle. They confuse being busy with being productive. Champions know the difference. Busy drains you. Productive builds you. Busy reacts. Productive attacks. Busy answers everything. Productive protects focus. Champions don't allow low-value tasks to steal high-value hours. They respect their time because time is the only resource you never get back. Let me tell you something about focus. Focus is not found. It is scheduled. Champions block time. They create space. They eliminate distractions. They know when they will work deeply, when they will respond, and when they will rest. They don't leave focus to chance. They build into their day like a weapon. You see, decision fatigue is real. Every unnecessary choice drains energy. What to work on next, what to respond to, what to prioritize. Champions eliminate those decisions by planning early. They decide once in the morning with a clear mind, instead of deciding all day long while tired and distracted. That's not just smart, that's strategic. Let me give you a reality check. The world is designed to distract you. Notification, news, social media, other people's emergencies. If you don't plan your attack, you will spend your entire day reacting to noise instead of building result. Champions don't live reactively. They live deliberately. Planning also creates discipline without emotion. When the plan says it's time to work, you work. When the plan says it's time to rest, you rest. No guilt, no overthinking, no excuses. The plan becomes the boss, not your feelings. That's how champions stay consistent even on hard days. Now let me address something important. Planning is not rigidity. Champions are flexible, but not directional. They can adjust without losing focus. They can adapt without abandoning the mission because the plan gives them a framework, not a prison. It keeps them alive even when the unexpected shows up. Champions plan hour by hour, not minute by minute. They understand energy cycles. They schedule demanding tasks when their energy is high. They schedule routine tasks when energy dips. They respect their rhythm instead of fighting it. That's wisdom, that's maturity, that's mastery. And let me say this, planning builds confidence. When you know exactly what you're working on and why, doubt disappears, anxiety fades, overwhelm shrinks, confusion dies, clarity creates calm, calm creates control, creates excellence. I've seen talented people fail not because they lacked ability, but because they lacked structure. And I've seen average people win because they mastered planning. Talent without structure is wasted potential. Discipline without direction is exhaustion. That's unstoppable. Champions also plan their boundaries. They decide in advance what they will say no to. Not every call deserves an answer. Not every request deserves a response. Not every opportunity is worth the cost. Champions protect their time like their life depends on it. Because it does. Let me tell you something hard. Every yes is a no to something else. Champions choose their yes carefully. They know what they are building and they align their time with that vision. They don't apologize for focus. They don't explain discipline. They execute. Planning is also how champions reduce stress. Chaos creates anxiety. Structure creates peace. When you know what you're doing next, your mind relaxes. When your mind relaxes, performance improves. Stress is often not about workload. It's about uncertainty. Planning removes uncertainty. And don't miss this. Planning creates momentum. Once you complete your first priority, confidence rises. Once confidence rises, execution improves. Once execution improves, the day starts working for you instead of against you. Momentum compounds when direction is clear. Let me speak to the dreamers for a moment. Dreams without plans are fantasies. Champions turn dreams into schedule. They break big goals into daily actions. They don't just think about success, they calendar it. They don't wait for the perfect moment, they create it. You don't need more time. You need more intentional time. Everyone gets the same 24 hours. The difference is how champions use them. They don't waste prime hours on low-impact activities. They don't give their best energy to meaningless tasks. They invest their best energy where it produces growth. Planning also exposes excuses. When the plan is clear, there's nowhere to hide. You either execute or you don't. And champions embrace that accountability. They don't run from it, they rise to it. Let me ask you something real. How many days have you ended feeling tired but unfulfilled, busy but unproductive? That's not because you didn't try. It's because you didn't direct your effort. Champions don't just work hard. They work on purpose. And here's the truth nobody wants to admit. Planning is uncomfortable at first. It forces you to confront reality. It exposes distraction. It demands discipline. But everything that builds greatness feels uncomfortable before it feels normal. Champions lean into that discomfort because they understand the reward. Planning also gives you freedom. When your priorities are clear, you stop feeling guilty. You stop feeling behind. You stop feeling scattered. You move with confidence because you know you're doing what matters most. Freedom doesn't come from less responsibility. It comes from clarity. Let me bring this home. If you want to win your day, you must decide in advance how it will be won. Don't leave success to chance. Don't let distraction steal destiny. Don't let urgency replace importance. Plan your attack. Tomorrow morning, take 10 minutes. Write down your top 3 priorities. Block time for them. Protect that time. Execute without excuses. Repeat daily. That simple discipline will separate you from 90% of people who live reactively. Champions don't wake up hoping for prize. They wake up expecting it because they plan for it. They don't drift into success. They schedule it. They don't guess their way forward. They attack with clarity. And when you start planning your days like a champion, your life starts moving like one. Focus sharpens. Results improve. Confidence rises. Stress falls. And momentum becomes inevitable because success is not random. Excellence is not accidental. Greatness is not mysterious. It is planned, executed, and repeated day after day. That's how champions win their hours. That's how champions win their days. That's how champions win their lives. And it all starts with a plan. Let me be real with you for a moment. Planning is power. Preparation is essential. Mindset is critical, but none of it matters if you don't execute. Dreams don't respond to intentions. Goals don't move because you feel inspired. Success only responds to action, and not casual action, not half-hearted effort, but relentless execution. Champions don't just think differently in the morning. They move differently. They don't wait to feel ready. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They execute with intensity because they understand that hesitation kills momentum. Most people know what to do. That's not the problem. The problem is doing it when it's uncomfortable, doing it when it's boring, doing nobody is watching. Champions separate themselves in those moments. When motivation fades, when energy dips, when excuses show up, champions still move, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Let me say this clearly. Execution is a decision, not an emotion. You don't execute because you feel like it. You execute because you committed to it. Champions don't negotiate with discomfort. They don't debate discipline. They don't come with resistance. They recognize it, and they move anyway. The morning is where execution is tested first. That's where discipline shows up before distractions arrive. Champions attack early, because early execution builds confidence. Sends a message to the mind that today is not negotiable. Today is not optional. See, procrastination is not a time problem. It's an identity problem. When you see yourself as someone who finishes, you stop delaying. Champions don't ask, can I do this later? They ask, why wouldn't I do it now? Because now is where power lives. Now is where control exists. Let me tell you something about intensity. Intensity doesn't mean rushing. It means presence. It means focus. It means giving full effort to the task in front of you instead of splitting attention across 10 distractions. Champions don't multitask excellence. They lock in. They immerse. They dominate one task at a time. And here's the truth. Most people quit mentally before they quit physically. They slow down before they stop. They hesitate before they fail. Champions guard their mind during execution. They don't entertain doubt mid-task. They don't question the process while in motion. They trust what they planned and they finish what they started. Execution requires self-command. You must be able to tell yourself what to do and obey, not tomorrow, not later. That's a skill. And like any skill, it's built through repetition. Every time you execute despite resistance, discipline grows stronger. Every time you quit early, excuses get louder. Let me talk about excuses for a second. Excuses sound reasonable. They feel justified. They show up dressed like logic, but champions don't entertain them. They understand that excuses are just comfort trying to protect itself. And comfort has never produced greatness. I don't feel motivated. So what? It's hard. Champions execute anyway. They understand that feelings follow action, not the other way around. You don't wait to feel confident to act. You act and confidence follows. You don't wait to feel strong. You move and strength shows up. Momentum is created by motion, not contemplation. Execution also demands consistency. One good day doesn't change your life. One strong morning doesn't define you. Champions win because they repeat execution daily, not perfectly, but persistently. They show up even after bad days, especially after bad days. And let me tell you something powerful. The body will follow orders if the mind is trained. That's why champions build rituals, same time, same structure, same discipline. Rituals reduce resistance. They remove decision-making. You don't debate whether to execute. You just do what you always do. Champions don't rely on bursts of effort. They rely on standard. A standard says how I operate regardless of circumstances. When execution becomes your stand, when executions lose their voice, now let's talk about pain. Because execution hurts sometimes. Growth demands strain. Progress requires pressure. Champions don't run from pain. They respect it. They understand that pain is information, not a stop sign. It tells you that you're expanding, that you're pushing past old limits. The difference between average and elite is not desire, it's tolerance. Tolerance for discomfort, tolerance for repetition, tolerance for boredom. Champions can do the same thing again and again without applause because they're chasing results, not validation. Execution also requires accountability. Champions don't lie to themselves. They don't blame circumstances. They don't point fingers. They look in the mirror and take responsibility, even when it's unfair, even when it's hard, because responsibility is power. When you own your execution, you own your outcomes. When you blame, you give power away. Champions never give power away. And let me say this, your execution doesn't mean perfection, it means progress. Some days will be messy, some days will feel slow, some days will fall short. Champions don't quit on imperfect days. They adjust and continue. Execution is about finishing. Starting is easy. Everyone starts. Champions finish. They close loops. They complete tasks. They deliver. They understand that unfinished work drains energy. Finished work builds confidence. And here's something most people miss. Execution builds identity. Every time you execute, you become someone who executes. Every time you follow through, you reinforce belief. You don't become disciplined by thinking about it. You become disciplined by acting disciplined. That's why champions protect their mornings. Because early execution sets identity for the day. It says, I am someone who does what I said I would do. That belief carries into every interaction, every challenge, every decision. Let me speak to those who struggle with consistency. Stop waiting for the perfect version of yourself to show up. Execute as you are, tired, uncertain, imperfect. Action sharpens clarity. Movement creates strength. Waiting creates doubt. Champions don't wait for confidence. They build it through execution. And understand this, execution compounds. One disciplined morning turns into a disciplined week. A disciplined week turns into a disciplined year. Small actions done daily produce massive transformation. That's not hype. That's law. You don't need to change everything at once. You need to execute one thing fully, then another. Champions focus on what's controllable today instead of being overwhelmed by tomorrow. Execution also teaches patience. Results don't show up immediately. Progress is often invisible at first. Champions trust the process because they trust their discipline. They don't quit because the scoreboard hasn't changed yet. They know effort deposits compound even when unseen. Let me remind you of this. Talent without execution is wasted potential. Knowledge without action is frustration. Vision without discipline is hallucination. Champions bring their vision to life by executing daily, even when it's inconvenient. And don't overlook this. Execution builds respect, self-respect. When you do what you said you would do, you trust yourself more. And when you trust yourself, you move with authority. Confidence doesn't come from height. It comes from kept promises. So tomorrow morning when resistance shows up, and it will, don't negotiate, don't scroll, don't delay, move, execute the first task, then the next, build momentum early. Let action silence doubt, because champions don't wake up asking if they feel like winning. They wake up committed to executing. They don't wait for clarity. They create it through action. They don't hope discipline shows up. They demand it. And day after day, execution becomes identity. Identity becomes confidence, becomes results. That's how champions separate themselves. Not by intention, not by motivation, but by relentless, disciplined execution every single morning. And when execution becomes who you are, success has no choice but to follow. Let me talk to you about something that doesn't get enough attention, but determines everything. Your mindset, not just how you think when things are going well, but how you think when pressure hits, when distractions pull you, when negativity shows up uninvited. Champions don't just train their bodies or sharpen their skills. They guard their mind like their future depends on it, because it does. Most people lose the battle before it ever becomes visible. They lose it in their thoughts. They let doubt walk in without permission. They let fear sit down and get comfortable. They let comparison poison confidence. And by the time the day is halfway over, they're tired, not from effort, but from mental chaos. Champions refuse to live like that. They understand that the mind is a battlefield, and if you don't defend it, it will be invaded. Let me say this clearly. Your mind is the control center of your life. What you allow to live there determines how you move, how you respond, how you perform. Champions don't allow random thoughts to run the show. They are intentional about what they consume, what they entertain, and what they repeat internally. Distractions are not always loud. Some are subtle. A negative comment, a disappointing result, someone else's success, a memory from the past, a fear about the future. If you're not careful, those small mental interruptions steal focus from the present moment. Champions train themselves to return to now, to lock in, to refocus quickly. Let me tell you something powerful. You don't have to attend every thought that invites you. Just because a thought shows up doesn't mean it deserves your energy. Champions acknowledge negative thoughts without agreeing with them. They let them pass instead of letting them stay. Most people fight distractions externally but ignore the internal ones. They turn off notifications but leave doubt running unchecked. They try to manage time but don't manage self-talk. Champions go deeper. They address the root. They clean the inside. Mindset protection starts with awareness. Champions notice when their thinking shifts, they catch themselves spiraling early. They don't wait until frustration turns into burnout. They interrupt negative patterns before they grow. That's discipline. That's maturity. And let me be real. Your environment influences your mindset. The conversations you listen to, the content you consume, the people you allow access to your energy. Champions are selective, not arrogant, intentional. They don't surround themselves with negativity and expect positivity. They don't consume chaos and expect clarity. If you wake up disciplined but spend the day absorbing complaints, gossip, and doubt, your mindset will erode. Champions guard what enters their ears and eyes because they know it eventually reaches the heart. Comparison is one of the most dangerous distractions. Looking left and right instead of forward. Measuring your journey against someone else's highlight reel. Champions don't do that. They understand that comparison kills joy and focus. They stay in their lane. They trust their timeline. Let me tell you something freeing. You don't need validation to stay locked in. Champions don't need applause to perform. They don't need approval to execute. Their confidence comes from commitment, not compliment. Another mindset killer is perfectionism. Waiting until everything feels right. Overthinking every move. Second-guessing progress. Champions don't chase perfection. They chase consistency. They understand that forward motion beats flawless planning. And when setbacks happen, and they will, champions don't internalize failure's identity. They don't say, I am a failure. They say, an attempt failed. One shuts you down, the other keeps you moving. Let me talk about emotional discipline. Feelings are real, but they're not leaders. Champions feel emotions without being controlled by man. They don't deny frustration. They don't suppress disappointment. They process it and refocus. They don't let one bad moment ruin the entire day. Mental toughness isn't about being hard. It's about being stable. Being able to stay centered when things go wrong, being able to respond instead of react. That stability comes from repetition, not talent. Champions use mental anchors, short phrases, clear reminders, truths they return to when the mind drifts. Stay present, control what you can, one task at a time. These aren't slogans, they're tools. They bring the mind back into alignment. Let me say this, what you rehearse mentally becomes automatic. If you rehearse fear, fear shows up faster. If you rehearse confidence, confidence becomes familiar. Champions rehearse winning thoughts even when outcomes are uncertain. And don't underestimate rest and mindset protection. An exhausted mind is vulnerable. Fatigue weakens discipline. Champions respect recovery because they understand that mental sharpness requires rest. They don't glorify burnout. They glorify sustainability. Let me address negativity from others. Not everyone will understand your focus. Some will mock discipline. Some will question consistency. Champions don't argue. They don't explain. They execute. They let results speak. You must also guard against self-sabotage. The inner voice that says, you always mess this up. You're not ready. Or what if you fail? Champions challenge that voice. They replace it with truth. Growth comes from confrontation, not comfort. And here's a powerful truth. Your mindset determines how you interpret reality. The same situation can feel like pressure or privilege depending on perspective. Champions choose perspectives that empower action, not paralysis. They ask better questions. Instead of a why is this happening to me, they ask, what can I learn from this? Instead of a what if I fail, they ask, what if I grow? That shift changes everything. Champions also understand that silence is a weapon. Constant noise disrupts clarity. They create moments of quiet to reset mentally, to breathe, to refocus. Stillness sharpens awareness. Let me bring this home. You can have discipline, plans, execution, but if your mindset is scattered, everything suffers. The mind must be protected daily, intentionally, aggressively. Tomorrow, when distractions come, and they will, don't panic, don't spiral. Pause, breathe, refocus, return to your task. That simple act separates champions from the rest. Champions don't allow one thought to ruin an hour. They don't allow one moment to ruin a day. They don't allow one setback to define a journey. They guard their mind. They protect their focus. They stay locked in because they know this. The world will try to distract you. People will try to discourage you. Doubt will try to invade you. But none of it works unless you allow it. And when you master your mindset, distractions lose their power. Clarity becomes normal and progress becomes inevitable. That's how champions stay sharp. That's how champions stay focused. That's how champions win, starting in the mind. Let me slow this down for a moment because how you end your day matters just as much as how you start it. Most people think champions are built in the morning, but the truth is champions are also built at night. What you do before you sleep determines how you wake up. How you close the day shapes how you enter the next one. Champions don't collapse in the bed exhausted and unaware. They close the day intentionally. Most people end their day distracted, scrolling, complaining, replaying mistakes, carrying stress into sleep. And then they wonder why they wake up tired, unfocused, and unmotivated. Champions understand something different. Your last thoughts become tomorrow's starting point. That's why they are intentional about reflection, gratitude, and preparation. Reflection is not self-criticism. Reflection is awareness. It's the courage to look at the day honestly without judgment. Champions ask themselves real questions. What did I do well today? Where did I lose focus? What drained my energy? What moved me closer to my goal? This isn't about guilt, it's about growth. It's about growth. If you don't reflect, you repeat mistakes unconsciously. Champions don't repeat, they refine, they adjust, they evolve. Every day becomes a lesson, not a loss. Even bad days have value if you extract a lesson before going to sleep. Let me tell you something powerful. Reflection turns experience into wisdom. You can live the same year 10 times if you never pause to learn from it. Champions refuse to live on autopilot. They slow down long enough to understand themselves. Now let's talk about gratitude. Not fake gratitude. Not surface level positivity. Real gratitude. The kind that grounds you. The kind that reminds you how far you've come. Champions practice gratitude not because life is perfect, but because perspective is powerful. Gratitude doesn't ignore struggle. It balances it. It reminds you that even on hard days, there was progress, effort, and opportunity. It shifts your focus from what went wrong to what went right. And that shift changes your emotional state. Let me be clear. Gratitude is not weakness, it is strength. It takes discipline to be grateful when things are unfinished, when goals are still distant, when the work is still heavy. Champions choose gratitude because it restores energy instead of draining it. When you end the day grateful, you sleep better. When you sleep better, you recover better. When you recover better, you perform better. Gratitude is not just emotional, it's strategic. Now let's talk about closure. Many people go to bed mentally cluttered. Unfinished conversations, unresolved stress, open loops. Champions don't carry them into tomorrow. They release what they can't control. They forgive quickly. They let go deliberately. Holding on to frustration doesn't make you stronger. It makes you heavier. Champions understand that emotional weight slows momentum. They put the day down so they can pick tomorrow up with strength. And here's something most people overlook. Preparation for tomorrow begins tonight. Champions don't wake up confused. They wake up clear. Why? because they decided in advance what tomorrow requires. Before sleep, champions identify their top priorities for the next day. Not everything, just what matters most. This simple act gives the mind direction while resting. It reduces anxiety, it removes uncertainty. Let me tell you this, the brain loves clarity. When you give it direction before sleep, it works on solutions subconsciously. Champions wake up sharper because they went to bed prepared. Preparation also builds confidence. When you know what tomorrow requires, fear decreases. Procrastination loses power. You're no longer guessing. You're executing. Champions also evaluate their energy honestly. They ask, so did I respect my body today? Or did I push or did I abuse? They understand the ability beats intensity over time. Burnout is not a badge of honor. It's a warning sign. Let me address guilt for a moment. Many people go to bed feeling like they didn't do enough. Champions don't measure themselves by perfection. They measure themselves by effort and alignment. Did I show up? Did I move forward? Did I honor my commitment? If yes, they rest in peace. Rest is not quitting. Rest is recovery. Champions don't apologize for sleep. They respect it because they understand that tomorrow's discipline depends on tonight's recovery. And don't miss this, champions protect their nighttime environment. They reduce noise. They limit negativity. They disconnect intentionally. Because overstimulation before sleep weakens clarity in the morning. Let me say this clearly. What you feed your mind at night shows up in the morning. If you feed it chaos, you wake up scattered. If you feed it intention, you wake up focused. Champions also reconnect with purpose before sleep. They remind themselves why the work matters, why the sacrifice is worth it, why consistency matters more than comfort. That reminder strengthens resolve. Now let's talk about peace. Peace is not the absence of problems. It's the absence of mental resistance. Champions make peace with the process. They don't rush results. They trust their discipline. When you end the day in peace, you stop fighting reality. You accept where you are without giving up on where you're going. That balance is maturity. Let me bring this home. Winning in the day doesn't end when the work stops. It ends when the mind is settled, when the heart is grateful, when tomorrow's prepared. Champions don't fall asleep defeated. They fall asleep aligned. They don't carry regret into rest. They carry lessons. They don't stress about tomorrow. They prepare for it. And when they wake up, they're not starting from zero. They're starting from clarity. If you want consistent mornings, you must have intentional nights. If you want focus tomorrow, you must create closure tonight. If you want growth, you must reflect. If you want peace, you must practice gratitude. This is how champions sustain momentum. This is how they avoid burnout. This is how they grow day after day without losing themselves. They honor the ending. They respect the process. They prepare the future. And that's why when champions wake up, they're not chasing motivation. They're continuing momentum. Because the night before, they already won. Let me bring this all the way home now. Because everything you've heard up to this moment only matters if it changes how you live, not just how you listen. Information without application is entertainment. Inspiration without discipline is noise. But when intention meets action, when ritual meets execution, when mindset meets consistency, that's when lives change. That's when champions are formed. This was never just about mornings. It was about ownership. Ownership of your time. Ownership of your time. Ownership of your mindset. Ownership of your future. Champions don't wait for life to give them permission. They don't wait for circumstances to line up. They don't wait for motivation to knock on the door. They wake up and take control intentionally. Every morning you wake up, you are voting for the kind of life you want. Every choice is a vote. Snooze or stand up. Drift or decide. React or attack. Those votes compound. And over time, they don't just shape your day. They shape your identity. You don't become great by accident. You become great by agreement with discipline, agreement with consistency, agreement with sacrifice. Let me say this clearly. Nobody is coming to save you. No one is coming to hand you your dream. No one is coming to discipline you, focus you, or push you every day. Champions understand this early. They stop waiting and start becoming. They stop hoping and start building. They stop talking and start doing. You don't need a perfect life to start a powerful morning. You don't need perfect conditions to live intentionally. You don't need confidence to A, You build confidence by acting. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can, but do it on purpose. There will be days when you feel strong. There will be days when you feel tired. There will be days when everything flows and days when nothing works. Champions don't let those fluctuations control them. They stay anchored. They stick to their rituals. They trust the process even when emotions change. Let me remind you, discipline is not punishment. Discipline is self-respect. It's saying, my future matters more than my comfort. It's choosing growth over ease. It's doing what needs to be done even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. The morning ritual is not about being extreme. It's about being consistent. Small actions done daily create massive separation over time. You don't need to do everything. You need to do the right things repeatedly. That's how ordinary people become extraordinary. Understand this, intentional living will cost you something. It will cost you distractions. It will cost you comfort. It may cost you relationships that don't respect your growth. But what it gives you in return is priceless. Clarity, confidence, momentum, and self-trust. You will face resistance, not just from the world, but from yourself. Old habits will fight back. Doubt will whisper. Laziness will negotiate. Champions expect that resistance. They don't panic when it shows up. They don't personalize it. They move anyway. Because here's the truth. Your feelings are not your boss. Your commitment is. And when commitment leads, feelings eventually follow. Let me speak to the version of you that's tired of starting over. Tired of motivation that fades. Tired of promises you didn't keep to yourself. This is your moment to change the pattern. Not through hype, but through structure. Not through emotion, but through intention. Stop trying to win the whole year in one day. Win the morning. Win the first hour. Win the first decision. Momentum starts small. Excellence starts quietly. Champions are built in private long before they're celebrated in public. And don't underestimate this. When you live intentionally, you become an example. Your discipline speaks. Your consistency challenges others. Your growth inspires without explanation. You don't need to announce your transformation. Let your habits do the talking. There will be moments when you fall short. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Champions don't quit when they stumble. They reset. They reflect. They recommit. One bad day does not erase a disciplined life. Remember this. Success is not about intensity once in a while. It's about alignment every day. Alignment between what you say you want and what you do consistently. When those two match, progress becomes inevitable. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not incapable. You are simply one decision away from a different direction. And that decision doesn't need applause. It needs action. Tonight, reflect. Tomorrow morning, rise with purpose. Not perfect. Purposeful, not fearless, focused, not loud, locked in. Live your life in a way that makes excuses uncomfortable. Live your life in a way that builds confidence quietly. Live your life in a way that future you will thank you for. Because champions are not born in moments of convenience. They are built in moments of decision. They are shaped by rituals. They are sustained by intention. They are revealed by consistency. And when you commit to winning your mornings, protecting your mindset, executing with discipline, and closing your days with gratitude and clarity, you don't just change your schedule, you change your standard. You stop asking, can I do this? And start declaring, this is who I am. This is how champions live. This is how champions rise. This is how champions sustain greatness. Not someday, not when it's easy, but starting now.